So, welcome to Tuesday night meditation. And let's start this evening by, if it's possible, if you're, whatever piece of furniture you're sitting on makes it possible, if you can be sitting kind of on the edge of it so that you've got some space behind your back. And we're going to start with actually a little something. Those of you who were here last week will be starting with that, and then we're going to add to it a little bit. So first, I'll just kind of demonstrate, talk through it, and then we can do it together. So what I'm going to invite you to do in a moment is locate your scapulas, your chicken wings, your shoulder blades, and actually do this part right now, just this part. See if you can move your scapulas. Maybe easier if you move them up first, and then
Oh my God.
down.
So sorry.
Okay. Oh, I gotta mute y'all. Okay. So try that. Just moving, and we're not talking about these. What are these? Deltoids or trapezoids or something? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the scapulas, which are the kind of triangular shaped, wing bones in the back. So play around with those. See if you can move them up and move them down. They're not going to travel a whole lot, but they'll travel some. Okay, you getting some sense of that? Let me get you all where I can see you. Okay, you have some sense of that? Okay, so then what we're going to be doing is pulling them down and then together and then forward, pushing them forward into your heart from the back. And that's going to tend to push you into a bit of an arch. Okay, so let's just play around with that much. All right, so pulling the scapulas down to whatever degree you can do that, down and then together and then forward, really quite hard. It really is as just about as powerfully as you can. Push them against your heart from the back so that it's pushing the chest and as if opening up the chest, like opening up the. Okay, you can relax. As if it's opening, like it could be sometimes a feeling of as if, most of us have some degree of kind of obstruction, kind of like crust on the heart center here. And if you really get into this, it can feel like you're just breaking up that crust, just opening up the heart center to the wide world. Okay, so let's do that some more. So pulling the scapulas down and together, really, really squeeze them together, and then down and together and push them forward into the heart. Push yourself into an arch, breaking up the crust on the heart center, and then relax. Now, this time, as we relax, go into a bit of a curl. Okay, so you're curling your tailbone under. That's the most important thing. Pulling your tailbone under and pulling your head forward some, and then coming out of that into nice erect spine. Okay? Don't strain on any of this stuff. We never strain on anything here because we're too lazy for that. But do it quite as powerfully as you can without straining. Okay, any questions on any of this? Any questions? Okay, so let's do it again. So scapulas, and you can close your eyes. Scapulas down, squeeze them together, push them forward into the heart, push yourself forward and upward, kind of the idea of upward on a 45 degree angle. Breaking up that heart crust. And then relax and go into a bit of a curl, curling the spine. And then coming up, unfurling out of that curl. Drop your shoulders. Just easily drop the shoulders so you're sitting nice and erect. Okay, let's do just one more. So scapulas down, squeeze them together, push them forward into the heart center, push yourself into an arch. Have this idea that you're going up, pushing the heart center forward and up at a 45-degree angle. Breaking up that crust. And then relax into a curl. And then unfurl out of that curl into a nice, relaxed but erect spine. Okay. And now just sitting. Just being. Nothing to do. We're already present. All right, we're already here. Where else can we be? We're already aware. Otherwise, you couldn't hear this voice. So nothing to do but rest in that aware presence that is already present, that we're already aware of. Just kicking back into it. Everything else that we might have thought we had to do in the name of meditation, everything else that we've had to do in the name of all our other worthy or unworthy activities during the day, we just completely take a break from all of that. Ah, what a relief, thank God. Just settling into this beingness, this aware presence that's always already here. Nothing we have to create, nothing we have to find, nothing to understand. No angle or strategy to figure out. That's all just a bunch of concepts. And concepts are just thoughts. Like any of the other thoughts that come and go within this awareness. Thoughts about the weather, thoughts about grocery shopping, thoughts about meditation and the meaning of life. It's all just, like those little specks of dust that come and go in the beam of sunlight. They're fine. You don't have to get rid of them, but we don't get hung up in giving any value or importance to this speck or that speck. You just relax in the sunlight of awareness, of presence. Thoughts come and go. Feelings come and go. Sounds and sensations come and go. It's all just like specks of dust in the sunlight. All of it's fine. None of it matters. So we let whatever comes come. We let whatever goes go. And we just rest in that which remains. That which does not come and go. Which is just this presence, just this awareness, which is always right here. It has no shape, no texture, no color or size. It's silent. It's like open space, but aware. Aware space. Infinitely free of all qualities and all boundaries. And it's never even a millimeter distant from us, because actually it is us. We are that beingness, that presence, that awareness. So we rest in that awareness, rest in yourself, relax back into yourself, same thing. Anytime you find yourself grasping or gripping at something, some obsessive thought pattern or whatever, that's fine. Just relax your grip. Don't try to get rid of it. Just relax your grip and relax back into yourself. Relax back into this vast, open, space-like awareness. Anything you find yourself resisting is actually also a form of grasping. You have to grasp at the thing to resist it. So same thing, just relax your grip. Relax back into this self, this presence. It doesn't matter whether the thing you were grasping or resisting sticks around or not, as long as you relax your grip and relax into space-like awareness. Right here. Always right here. Never have to look for it. Any feelings that come along, happy feelings, antsy feelings, depressed feelings, elated feelings, doesn't matter. Just more stuff coming and going. None of it is better or worse than anything else. It's all incidental. Doesn't matter what we feel. Doesn't matter what we think. Just relax again into this boundless self right here. That's simple. Maybe just very, very quietly take a look and notice whether you're exerting even a little bit of some kind of subtle effort, some subtle trying to be doing it right, something like that. Some little, and if not, great. But if so, just throw that into the old vaporizer now. Just vaporize it into space. And just hang out. Don't meditate. Just hang out in this space that remains when we vaporize that effort. Anything else you feel you're hanging on to, this is a good time. Just throw it into the vaporizer. Just feel it vaporizing out 360 degrees, vaporizing into open space. And then rest in that open space. Throw everything, any sense of identity that you're supposedly this or that person. How about the idea that there's some world we're going to open our eyes to in a few minutes? Throw that into the vaporizer. We're on a one-way ticket here. Vaporize it all away. And be free, be liberated in this space. Now keep the eyes closed. And take a few minutes to gently bring the body back to a more active state. When you feel ready, you can open the eyes, but always take your time. Okay, how's everyone doing? Everybody good? Good. Any? Oh, hi, Cole. Good to see your iconic thumb. Uh, yeah, there you are. Good to see your smiling face as well. Good. Any questions about the meditation or conscious? You're limited to the topics of meditation, consciousness, and existence. I think that about covers everything.
Yeah.
I remember, as a matter of fact, I've just remembered this. Fu Ding, who is here with us tonight, his younger brother Fu Dong was my best buddy in high school, in junior high school, and we had this English teacher. I think she was in ninth grade. I forget her name now, but at the end of the year, she, everyone's writing stuff in your yearbooks, and she wrote in my yearbook B and an exclamation mark and signed it. And Fu Dong and I went off after we were looking at that. Wow, B, that's it. She's covered the whole ground. So we're limited in our discussion to the field of being. Okay, so yes, Fu Ding, you can unmute yourself.
With that auspicious question, then I guess I can say I exist.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of it, and I feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Satchitananda.
Yep. Sounds good to me. Hang on. I need to unpin. There it is. Remove pin. There we go. Now I can see. Yeah. So, it's interesting. When we come up with names, and Fu Ding, you and I have talked quite a bit about this business of trying to find the most appropriate language to express these experiences. And there's the beautiful traditional language that coming out of Sanskrit and also Chinese and Tibetan, and these beautiful expressions like Sat Chit Ananda, right? Being, awareness, bliss. So it's really great to have that. It's also, I think, important, I find for me, important to remember um, even a beautiful name is still just a name. You know, it's like in the beginning of the Tao Te Ching, there's that beautiful name, Tao, right, for the whole thing, the whole shooting match, the beingness, everything. And I love that the very first line of the Tao Te Ching is the disclaimer where it says that the Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao. Right? Wouldn't it be great? What would our world be like if every scripture started with a disclaimer like that? You know, like if the Quran started, okay, we're going to say a lot here about Allah, but nothing that we say is actually it. Right? We're going to say a lot about God, about Jesus, about whatever, but we got to use words so we can talk to each other, but the words are not the thing. They're just the words. Right? Good. Good. Cole. Yes, please.
Hey, Dean.
Hey.
Um, so this happens every time I do your meditations.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about this open space of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I guess awareness is something that's like a deliberate action and something that like requires my concentration, like aware of a sound or my breath
Mm-hmm.
or a sensation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to grasp like what that means. Like exact I think I'm overthinking it, but it's just a
Mm-hmm.
strange concept to me.
Sure. Um, are you aware right now?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
processing your words
Okay.
in my brain.
Yeah. You're hearing my words. You're seeing your computer screen or your phone, whatever it is. Um, okay. So what I want you to do right now is, as hard as you can, try to stop being aware. Can you do it?
No, I'm hearing the sounds outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you must not be trying hard enough. Try harder. Really make awareness go away.
Mm,
Yeah,
I
can't
can't
do it. Can't do
do
it.
it.
That's awareness. Awareness is, the great science fiction writer Philip K. Dick once received a letter from I think it was a high school girl, asking him, "What is your definition of reality?" And if you've read any Philip K. Dick, he's got all this crazy, planes of reality, and what's the dream and what's the hallucination and what's the blah blah blah. And he thought about it for for a long time, and finally said, all I can come up with is reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away. Okay? How great is that? Reality, this is another thing that should be in every scripture, actually. Reality is that which, when you stop believing in it, doesn't go away. Okay? Now, similarly, we could say something like awareness is that which, when you stop trying, doesn't go away. Okay? You hear
Yeah,
that?
I see.
Can you see that? That's what's going on right now. Now, you did bring up a very good point, which will help us understand, the little predicament you've been finding yourself in, which is you said, "Oh, aware of my breathing, aware of this and that." That's something else. Okay? Certainly being aware of X, Y, or Z is based on first just being aware, period. Right? If we were not aware, we could not be aware of, oh, Dean's wearing a purple T-shirt tonight, or and then whatever our feeling, purple, all this stuff we can be aware of, right? the just pure awareness is the precondition of being aware of X, Y, and Z. But does being aware, this pure, simple, basic awareness, does it depend on being aware of some specific thing? Right? Pure awareness, it's easy to see that's a precondition for specific awareness, but is specific awareness of this or that, are those a precondition for pure awareness? Right? Okay, let's spin a little scenario here. All right? Let's say you go to sleep in some dark room, and you wake up and it's completely dark. Let's say completely sealed. It's a dark chamber. So you wake up and you have no visual awareness. You're not aware of colors or lights or shapes. Are you still aware?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, by the way, nothing I'm asking here is a trick question. I'm not trying to trick you. There's nothing metaphysical here. So be sure of your answers, but just know this is all very straightforward. There's not going to be any tricks. I'm just inviting you, and of course everyone here, to, look at your own experience as we talk about this. Can look, right? So, okay, we wake up, the room is completely dark, so we're not aware of any visual stimuli. We're still aware. Okay? Let's say it's a completely silent chamber. Right? So you're not aware of any external sounds. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you're deaf, so you're not even aware of internal sounds like the pounding of the blood in your ears or anything. Okay? So no visual stimuli, no auditory stimuli. Are you still aware?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say the room's been the air's been completely purified with the best HEPA filters or whatever they call them, so there's nothing to smell, but we're still aware. Right? Nothing to taste. Dinner is not served, but we're still aware. Did I get all this? Oh, sense of touch. Okay, so somehow maybe you're in one of these isolation, what are these chambers where they have you floating, right, and the body temperature fluid, so you don't have a sense of there's no tactile sense. You still aware?
Yeah, I would think so at that point.
Yeah. Well, let's see. What's still? Is there anything you're still aware of? Now that we've eliminated the five senses, is there anything you're still aware of?
The lack of sense, I guess. I don't know.
I think we're thinking the same thing, which is there's something inside you that's going, "Hey, where'd all the colors go?
Yeah.
Where'd my five senses go?" That's what's called thought. Right? So we're still aware of thinking, and maybe there's some emotion, some feeling, like, maybe we'd feel panicked at this, or maybe we'd feel very tranquil. Ooh, it's so refreshing having everything go away. Doesn't matter. Either way, okay, we're aware of some thoughts, we're aware of some feelings. Now, what if we're not having thoughts? And we're not having feelings? So now there's nothing specific to be aware of. Does that mean we stop being aware? Is there still something going on? There's still something that's different from before we woke up. Is there still a difference between being asleep and being awake?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. And that's called awareness. That's called awareness. And you can't get rid of it, as you saw when you tried very hard. You can't get rid of it, right? And so so here's what I would suggest you do. Anytime you find yourself in meditation, because we do so much talking about awareness, and it's like it seems so important, and you find yourself trying to be aware, go the opposite way. Try to stop being aware. And really sincerely try to stop being aware. And then, of course, you see you can't do it, and you just have a good laugh at yourself, and you relax. And you relax and hang out in the awareness that you can't get rid of.
Yeah. So that's when my mind will just like a thought will pop in and I'll attach to that thought and go
Mm-hmm.
down the,
Mm-hmm.
I'll get like out of it. And then, like you said, as the minute or the second you're aware that you were in one of those thought
Mm-hmm.
cycles,
Mm-hmm.
you're not in it anymore.
Right. Right.
So
The moment you realize that you've been caught up, this is the
yeah.
language I'd like to use here. The moment you realize that you've been caught up in a thought or a feeling or something, the moment you realize you've been caught up, you're no longer caught up because you realize it.
Mhm.
So at that point, what do you have to do to not be caught up? Nothing, because you're not caught up. Now, before you realize it, what can you do to not be caught up? Before you realize you're caught up, what can you do to not be caught up? That's right, nothing, because you don't realize it. You
Right.
don't realize that you're caught up, so there's nothing you can do about it, right? Now, it's very natural that when people start practicing this and they when they realize, oh God, I was just spent 10 minutes of my precious meditation time caught up in this whole fantasy of walking on the beach in Waikiki, or this whole fretting about my employment or whatever it is. Oh man, I just wasted 10 minutes being caught up. Uh, um, and there's some feeling of something I need to do. Somehow that's unsatisfactory. Somehow I need to do something about that. I'm gonna really get out of being caught up. Now at that point, you're trying to get out of something that you're not in. You're trying to get out of
Yeah.
being caught up when you're not caught up. And so this is a surefire formula for tying yourself in knots. Right. So what we're doing right now is just helping you to see really with crystal clarity what's going on. And we all do this. Everyone does this to some degree. And as you continue to practice, you go through that stuff. You find yourself trying to do something, trying to get out of something you're not in, and then you realize what you're doing. You have a good laugh at yourself. You go through that enough times, that whole pattern starts to lose its grip. And you're just kind of sitting back and relaxing and laughing. And sometimes you're caught up in something for a while. That's fine. In fact, it has to happen. That's part of the process. The experience of being caught up and then not caught up. In a way, that's kind of the essence of meditation. That the naturalness, because what did we do to get caught up in the thing? Nothing.
Nothing.
It's natural. And then what did we do to get uncaught up? Nothing. It's natural. That's why we call this natural meditation. We get caught up and it's almost like, it's like we've been boundless, whatever, the water in the ocean. I'm the whole ocean. And then somehow I get gathered up into a wave. I get caught up. I didn't try to, just somehow it happened. And then the moment I realize it, I just relax out of it. I'm ocean again. And I don't even have to try to relax out of it or decide to relax out of it. It just happens. Get gathered up, spread out. And this, more and more, we kind of have this whole vision of this whole thing happening, and it all happens by itself. It gets clearer and clearer that there's no what happens is we think, oh, there's all this stuff we have to do. And then after a while, it starts becoming more and more clear there's nothing for us to do. And then it starts becoming clear, not only is there nothing to do, there's no one to do it. Okay, that's a little further down the road. That not only there's no actions to perform, there is no actor. Everything's just kind of happening by itself. And then that sense where everything's happening by itself, more and more that sense starts to um, come out of meditation with you. And more from the outside, everyone sees you doing the same stuff. You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you do your work, you do your whatever you do, you cook breakfast, all that. You look like anyone else. I mean, if they pay attention, they hang around you, they might get some sense of there's some easefulness about the way Cole does all this stuff. Huh. Interesting. There's something relaxing about being around him. Something graceful about it. Some kind of grace of the dance of the way he goes through his life. And because what they would be picking up on is from the inside, you're actually not doing anything. You know, the hand is going up and down, right, with the toothbrush. The words are coming out of the mouth, but it's all just happening, and we're out here. We're on permanent vacation. That's called liberation. You know, and and everyone here, everyone in this session, we're all in the process of waking up to that. And then the by the way, the incidental side effect of that is all the that we get hung up about, all the conflicts, the hang-ups, the psychological stuff, just kind of all the juice gradually drains out of that stuff. It's you know, it just becomes more and more fun. Life is supposed to be fun.
Last thing, and I don't want to take
No.
all the time here.
No, please.
So there's nothing to do in meditation, in natural meditation. But when you're guiding this meditation,
Right.
I feel, especially when you give visuals like throw it in the vaporizer, or throw it in the fire, like it's like, I feel like that little bit of effort that you were talking about, to like visualize that and to try to get like an outcome from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, no, totally makes sense. And thank you for bringing that up, because
I do find myself a lot just having that little slight bit of effort that you were talking about. Just
right.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that's a thing that happens to everyone. Okay, first of all, and you know, this happened to me a few years ago. I actually, I was doing a project where I was teaching meditation, as a matter of fact, to the sales force at a Ford dealership in New Jersey. And somehow, I forget how this happened, but a reporter from Oprah magazine found out about this, and they thought it was such a cool story that, you know, I mean, if you visualize, you know, the phrase salesman at a car dealership in New Jersey, you're going to get a pretty accurate picture. I mean, a lot of these guys, the first time I walked in, and they're walking in, I'm going, gee, this kind of looks like the cast of The Sopranos. Right? And it turned out these guys there were a few women, most of them guys. They were great. They were terrific. They really understood, you know, and they were coming up to me at the break saying, I'm so glad you're here. I really need this. My blood pressure is so high. I really sweated at the end of the month trying to make my numbers. One guy came, he was so sweet. He said, I need this so I can be more present for my autistic 9-year-old son. You know, it was really beautiful. And then the Oprah reporter, wrote this thing up, and there was a little article about it in the Oprah magazine. And then I read the article, and I went, so first Slider told them to visualize a sky with clouds going through it. And I went, oh, no. Because I never use that word visualize. Okay? Okay? I'm not asking you to, but thank you, because I have to remember to once in a while make it clear that I'm not asking people to visualize things. I use these things, and it's traditional. Teachers will talk about, starting in the early 20th century when movies were invented, to talk about there's the movie, and then there's a pure white screen behind it. Forever, teachers have talked about there's the ocean and there's the waves on the ocean. Right? Because that which we're trying to talk about can't be spoken about. The Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao. So we have to use these metaphors and analogies to talk about it. But you're absolutely right. We need to once in a while remember to tell people we're not saying to visualize an ocean or visualize a sky. When I talk about the thoughts coming and going, they're like the breezes coming and going in the sky. Then if you find yourself visualizing a sky, just know that that visualization of the sky is just one more thought in the actual awareness. The closest we can come, pretty much, is to say awareness, beingness, is like open space. Because open space has no visual aspect. It has no color. You may find yourself, visualizing, big blackness and, galaxies and all that. But again, that's just another thought. And just treat it like any other thought. Don't try to get rid of it, but don't invest in it. Don't buy into it. Okay? All those things are, as they say in Zen, all these metaphors, they're like the fingers pointing at the moon. They're not the moon. Right? They're right. But and there's another one. Right? There's another one of those metaphors. Okay, is that helpful?
It is, yeah.
Good.
Definitely. Thank you.
You bet. And thank you for bringing up. This is exactly what I need people to do, is bring up whatever seems like a sticking point, whatever, and never worry about taking if you need to dominate the hour and a half, do that. That's great. Okay, Yafa.
I just was wondering, based on what Cole was asking at first, if you could just address aware of awareness itself, because I think there's something
Right.
that we may at times sort of drop everything but there is like an awareness of that
Right.
emptiness.
Yes. Good. Thank you. So, absolutely right. And it's very important to be clear about this. So, we're always aware. Anytime I ask the question, are you aware? The answer is always going to be yes. Okay? First of all. Now, are we always aware that we're aware? No. We often and probably most of the time, most people are caught up in the contents of awareness. They're caught up in specific things that they are aware of. All right? So they miss the fact that they're aware. And because they don't spend significant time being, we can say, consciously aware, or as you put it, Yafa, aware that we're aware, they don't get a chance to start to notice the quality of awareness. The quality of awareness, which is that because it has no qualities, it's boundless. It has the quality of freedom, liberation, moksha. The quality of, to me, the best expression of it is the quality of which is what we're looking for all the time in everything else. We're going through all the specific things that we're aware of. Now I'm aware of chocolate pudding. Let me take the chocolate pudding. And that's great on the first spoonful, and probably the second spoonful, and probably the 10th spoonful. After a while, when you get to the 100th spoonful, you're sick. You can't just keep eating chocolate pudding. So we go to something else, looking for that So and of course we all, anything that we invest, it may be something happens, the world runs out of chocolate pudding, you never get to have any again, or whatever. You have that experience of that when you're aware of your cute little kittens. Look, they're so cute. But then they grow up into cats. Oh yeah, let the cat out. Right? Clean the litter box. And there's that little tug, that little tragic feeling of, and sometimes we may have this about our kids. Oh, they were so cute when they were 5. Right? So it would be lovely if there were an that is not dependent on any specific thing that we're aware of. And fortunately, there is. It's the of awareness of awareness. We could think of awareness, and again, Cole, this is just another metaphor, right? But we could think of awareness as being like a flashlight, which most of the time we're using the flashlight to shine on different objects. We have the light on this object, that object. It's like being aware of this object, that object. And we're looking for the best, most brilliant objects we can find. And then we discover, but what if the flashlight could somehow, if the light of the flashlight could somehow just rest within itself? There's the biggest brilliance of all, right here, without having to go anywhere, without having to take a single step outside of itself. So that's the being aware of awareness. And that's what's cultivated. That's what gets cultivated through the practice of settling down in meditation and then coming out into activity and some of that. So we settle into awareness of awareness, and then we come out again to awareness of, catching the bus, and awareness of doing your taxes, and awareness of eating your breakfast. And more, the awareness of awareness comes out of being lost in the background, moves more and more into the foreground, so it's there along with the awareness of all these specific things. Okay. Now, the one other point that touches on, and again, I'm really glad that you brought this up, because I want to revisit what I was saying to Cole about how, essentially in meditation, there's nothing to do. Right? I said there's nothing to do, and ultimately, we find out nothing to do and no one to do it. But please notice that when I'm guiding meditation, that's not the instruction that's not the totality of the instruction that I give. I don't just say, okay, everyone, nothing to do. Right? Because then we'd be going, nothing to do. Well, let me light up a cigarette. Let me, click the remote. There's nothing to do, just hanging around. Right? We need to have just a little bit more shape to the instruction, at least initially. So we start off, first of all, usually with some little bit of specific doing, some simple thing like following the breath, or resonating a mantra, or gazing easily at some object in the room. Or tonight it was, doing, no, not like that, doing this business with the scapulas and arching and relaxing, which, by the way, I want to ask people about in a minute here. So we start off with some kind of on-ramp activity like that, and then we get to just resting as awareness, right? So I don't say do nothing. I say rest. I generally walk people through noticing that they're aware, that stuff is coming and going within their awareness, sensations, sounds, thoughts, feelings, coming and going within the awareness. Like waves coming and going on the surface of the ocean, or like breezes coming and going within the sky, and to say, okay, just allow it to come and go as it comes and goes, but rest in the awareness itself, rest in that ocean-like, sky-like, space-like awareness itself. That gives it a little more shape, right? We want to give it just enough shape so that we're not just, sitting around being scattered, but not so much shape that we start, doing a lot of visualizing and trying to turn it into something and putting in a lot of effort and so forth. And then, within that, we just resting as awareness. It's about as minimal as we can make the instruction. And then it becomes more and more clear. It happens by itself. It becomes more and more clear. Oh, there's really nothing to do. This awareness is here. We're just resting in what's already here. Okay, is that, are people hearing that? Is that getting some clarity on that? Yeah. Yes, Jenna, please.
I realized I was holding my hand up like I was still in class, like I wasn't allowed to speak. Until
You're
being
still
called
in class.
on.
I should mention that Jenna was a student. I'm sorry, I'm looking for how to unpin my video here. There it is. Yeah, Jenna was a student of mine at the Pingree School a few years back.
High school.
In high school, yes. In high school. Yes.
Well, when I practice TM,
Mhm.
I experience that as close to effortless as anything, and it's
Mhm.
very deeply settling,
Mhm.
and I find myself kind of just like melting into this undifferentiated wonderfulness.
Mhm. Mhm.
When I practice like shamatha vipassana or mindfulness meditation,
Mhm.
I find myself feeling very focused, and then afterward, like more discerning in my perceptions.
Mhm.
When I practice this kind of Dzogchen-esque
Mhm.
natural meditation, I find that kind of push and pull that you were describing earlier, getting caught up, then releasing,
Mhm.
caught up. It happens almost the entire time,
Mhm.
and I find myself even getting adrenalized. Like I'll get a panic, like when I get to that, like let's vaporize it
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
I think what happens is I get very scared of dying.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Very good.
that comes up.
Very
Like
good.
I've been in like feeling physically, like I even break out in like a little bit of a cold sweat, like sometimes when I'm
Right.
doing the Dzogchen-esque stuff. Like I just get on this edge of panic, and I have an 8-year-old boy,
Mhm.
and before I had him, I didn't really have a very strong, that I'm aware of, fear of death. But
Mm.
since I have the responsibility of a child,
Mhm.
and since our world has gotten increasingly less sane,
Mhm.
I feel the fear of grave illness, disability, death
Mhm.
comes up in these less structured meditation practices.
Right. 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 Yep. Yeah. It will tend to do that. It will tend to many times for many people kick up that confrontation with the reality of death, and may kick up fear, may kick up. That's one of the reasons why we do that. To
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah. Can't fool you, Jenna. I mean, clearly you're a connoisseur of these things. Uh, yeah, yeah. And as you've done enough hanging around the Vajrayana world to know that, dealing with the reality of death, that's kind of chapter 1 in Vajrayana, that's in Tibetan practice. I think I cited this maybe in this Tuesday session or Thursday session last week. Yafa, what's the name of that wonderful Tibetan teacher, the one who lived in Italy, and we went to see him, and who starts with
Namkhe Norbu.
Namkhe Norbu. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, Namkhe Norbu Rinpoche, he wrote one of the first books that I read about Vajrayana Buddhism. It's called The Crystal and the Cave or something like that. Very colorful about all his experiences, among other things, about his experiences in Tibet. He was in the last generation of the lamas that were trained in Tibet before, the Chinese invasion happened. And he entered the monastery at the age of, I think it was 10, and his first assignment was, okay, go build your coffin, and then you sleep in it every night. Okay, so that's hardcore, and we don't, come on, we're Americans, we're used to things being pretty cushy, so we're not going to push things to that kind of hardcore thing before we're ready. But sometimes, I mean, it's interesting. Actually, last week, Karen, you brought this up. You were talking about the reluctance to you're saying, you're very happy to relax your grip on the unpleasant thoughts, but reluctant to relax your grip on the happy thoughts, right? And and it was a great question. We went very deep with that. By the way, that one's posted on my YouTube channel now, and I recommend that one. There was some very good stuff, I think, came out of that discussion. And I pointed out to Karen, I said, isn't it interesting that just on the level of thinking, it's like we're in meditation thinking, oh yeah, after meditation, I'm going to go have some ice cream, right? And then, oh yeah, I'm reluctant to let go of that thought, even though it's just the thought, even though physically the ice cream is still going to be there in the freezer. Right? So even just on the level of thought to, and Tibetan Vajrayana practice does a lot with this. They do, I can't remember any Tibetan words tonight. What's the practice, the giving and receiving? What's that called? Where you're, that thing where you're
Tonglen.
Tonglen. Thank you.
Tonglen.
Yes, thank you. Tonglen. Right. Yafa and I are on the buddy system. We help each other remember stuff. Mostly she helps me remember stuff. Yeah, so Tonglen, giving and receiving, where and there's many forms of it, and some of them you're like, you visualize and Tibetan stuff uses a lot of, they do visualization, right? So the one form of Tonglen, you're visualizing the suffering of your fellow beings, and maybe you'll pick a particular person and you visualize their suffering as like hot, noxious, oily, smelly, toxic smoke. And with each breath, you breathe it in, and then in your heart center, you convert it into beautiful, pure white light of healing. And with each out breath, you're giving that healing to that person. So you're taking in all the crap, and you're giving it. You're like a cosmic air conditioner, for your fellow sentient beings. And one of the interesting things is that most people, when they're first introduced to that practice, they're very reluctant. Oh my God, I don't want to breathe in that person's suffering and their misery and their cancer and all, even though it's just thoughts. But that's why we do it. That's why we do it, because those resistances are there, whether we encounter them with some clarity in our meditation or not, right? We're walking around with those resistances, even if we never look at them clearly. In fact, especially if we never look at them clearly. We're walking around with those resistances, and those And that means everything we do, all our thoughts and words and deeds are to some degree having to get filtered through and distorted by and constricted by those resistances. You know, I mean, Jenna, I so understand what you're saying, about your child. I've got this, beautiful, what now, 15-year-old grandson and the one coast and the 5-year-old grandson, and we've just got a brand new grandson. And, I'm like starting to do the math. How long do I have to stick around to see these guys grow up? I want to see them grow up. Right? I really understand that. It really makes me want to stick around. However, there's going to be a moment when I no longer have that option. And first of all, I say this over and over, do the fire drill before the fire. Right? When that moment comes, and as Sogyal Rinpoche used to say, we all wake up every morning with the unexamined assumption, I will not die today. Right? We don't know that. We don't know that. There is a particular day somewhere in the calendar where that's going to turn out not to be true. Might be today. Might be tomorrow. Might be, 30 years from now. So when that happens, it might be really good to have gone through the fire drill, to have gone through, okay, what if I just, in this meditation, I buy a one-way ticket? Right? So on the one hand, that in that way, the meditation can inform because a lot of people, at the moment of dying, they're fighting it. They've never gone through this before. They have not experienced the of letting go. That when you let go, you're not letting go into annihilation. You're letting go into Rigpa, into Satchitananda, into Brahman, into the arms of Jesus, whatever we want to call it. So it really, I think, behooves us to have gone through that drill to find that out. The other side of that, so that's using the meditation to bring the liberative quality to the moment of dying. The turning that around, using the reality of dying, which we don't know when it's, as far as we know, every time we close our eyes or sit with our eyes open, this is it. We know we've got this breath, we don't know about the next one. Right? So we can use that as a way to really make our meditation profound. Because if we're sitting there in our meditation, we launch into the deep, but to a certain degree, we're leaving a, it's like we plunge into the depth, but we're leaving a little lifeline there for, well, but afterward I got to come out and make the dinner for my kid. Right? Afterward, I'm gonna this. Afterward, I'm gonna that. To a certain degree, that's holding us back from completely letting go into the depth of boundlessness of the self. So I find it for myself increasingly helpful to just go in with the attitude, okay, I'm buying a one-way ticket. And when I find myself starting to, as we do in meditation, you find yourself starting to just mentally rehearse a conversation, you're going to have with someone, or going through what are the steps of cooking dinner tonight, or for me when I'm on a writing project, okay, here's how I'm going to solve the problem of writing that paragraph. To just take the attitude of, well, forget about it, as we say in New Jersey, forget about it. I'm on a one-way ticket here. I'm just assuming that moment of opening my eyes and standing up from the chair, just assume it's not going to happen. Now that's going to kick up that resistance, as you say, but that's fine. We do it over and over, and we experience the letting go does not cause us to die. The resistance becomes less. Is this resonating for people? Is this making sense to people?
I think that I'm kind of very much aware that whether we consciously buy it or not, we've all got a one-way ticket.
Right.
And
this is the one-way trip right
and
now.
and life is very precious.
Yes.
And I feel like literally my throat feels tightened up, and like I feel very sad. Like this sounds childish. I'm sorry, but it's like
No, no, I know.
I feel very sad about that.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know.
sad and scared. Like it just gets stuck at like a. And I think it keeps, like when you're saying that the resistance we have, our life gets filtered through it.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not flourishing in my life because of that, the grip of that resistance and that sadness and fear.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes. Yeah. So
despite my.
I think
despite my.
No, go ahead. You go.
Despite my years of like practice and personal growth work and all that, I'm still quite caught up. I think.
Yeah.
In or stuck. In this knot, or it recurs.
Yeah. And it's part of the old the standard, as my old teacher Maharishi used to say, it's in the standard catalog of experiences. These moments where we go, oh my God, I've been practicing all these years, and I'm caught up in that thing. I just did that thing. I just got mad at my wife about that thing, and thing was so stupid. And by the way, I was wrong. I'm very familiar with those things. And when we see people up on the teaching seat, as you've seen, I know you've seen these, some of these very impressive looking lamas and so forth. And we tend to think that, that doesn't happen to them. That doesn't happen to them. Right. Well, when you get to know them more closly, if you get to hang around some of them more closely, you find that stuff still happens. They get in, the lamas get in arguments with their wives and stuff, right? So, and the reason I'm saying this is not to discourage us; it's to encourage us, to let us off the hook. Just know that that's part of, we're becoming more and more awakened humans, but we're still humans, right? Now, the kind of kernel, the real, presenting question here for you is fear, this feeling of fear, right? And
fear and sadness, like a lot of
sadness.
Sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote a whole book about this.
Which one?
This one, Fear Less.
Oh yeah.
Right. Fear Less. Living beyond fear, anxiety, anger, and addiction. And we could have kept going. Sadness, depression, loneliness, guilt, remorse. But we kind of ran out of room on the cover. And I in that I do some of the stuff that I do is this kind of deep dive stuff we've been doing here, which is, left to my own devices. That's what I tend to go to. That's just me. But also I do a lot of more just quick fix, practical stuff. Good, dumb, quick, non-philosophical, practical stuff, and probably that's the kind of stuff that you might find most useful here. Things like breathing through your feet. Yeah, it's one of my favorites, and I find people find this thing to be miraculous. Right? You're caught up in the fear. You feel that thing in your throat or in your chest, the fear, the sadness, the self-consciousness, whatever it is. Let's all do this right now, okay? Since we have to take a next breath anyway. So as you're breathing in, just imagine you're breathing in through the soles of your feet. And now as you're breathing out through the soles of the feet. Breathing in through the soles of the feet. Breathing out through the soles of the feet. In. And out. Okay, and done. How you doing? Yeah, maybe a little more centered, maybe a little more relaxed, maybe a little more, a little less charge, emotional charge going on. So good, dumb, non-philosophical, non-metaphysical, interventions like that are sometimes the best thing, but just to apply them with, kind of rigorously, kind of, do whatever you need. Actually, if you go to my website, I've got and it's right there on the homepage. I've got a link to a video I did some months back called something like 5 Quick Ways to Cut Through Anxiety. Right? Just total practice, and it's a little like 15-minute thing. So I'd say go there. And one of them, the first one I think is breathing through the feet, and then there's 4 other things like that. And just, sometimes just applying these very practical kind of remedies is the best thing you can do.
Mhm.
But also know that I find it helpful to remember that we are not the first people to tread this path, and that, Jesus and the Buddha and Padmasambhava and, all those Enlightenment heroes, they confronted this great sadness you're talking about. They confronted the fear that you're talking about. And they all report, right, with 100% consensus. They all report that's not the last word. Right? There is that the reality we're awakening to is bigger than the fear, bigger than the sadness, is truer, is ultimater. Okay, those things are not ultimate. And you've probably had moments where you feel kind of breaking through those clouds of sadness, those clouds of fear, where you just know that somehow, in the ultimate scheme of things, those are passing states, right? And we can spend minutes or hours or years in them, but they're passing states. They're like the clouds, right? If a cloud hangs around in your life for 25 years, you start to think of it as being the nature of the sky, but it's not. Even if it's a slow-moving cloud, it's a cloud. Clouds are clouds. Sky, only the sky is sky. Only the open space of beingness is ultimate. And I know you've had glimpses of that, right? And if you get even one clear glimpse of that, my God, what a miracle. And that's the promise that that's what we awake into. And that when we quote unquote die, that's what we die into. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, it's 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock Pacific time. So, you can all unmute yourselves if you care to quietly sing along here. So, we're going to invite all beings to find that boundless open sky of beingness within themselves as their true nature. The real happiness, the real end of suffering, sadness, fear, and thus the end of all conflict. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Mm.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Dean.
See you
Thanks,
around.
Dean.
Stay in touch. Enjoy being.